friends, it's me, Emily, here again. It's been a while. In fact, if I remember correctly, it was August when I last sat down to send out my monthly video blog. I even had the whole thing written and prepared. And then that thing that life sometimes does, it took a turn in a direction that you weren't expecting. More about that in just a minute. I never got that video blog out in August, and by the time I sat down to do it again in September, I realized that talking about summer heat and the dog days of August wasn't necessarily going to resonate with the audience. I was in the process of getting ready to revise the material and send out a message about autumn and transitions. And then I went through one of the biggest, if not the biggest, transition I've gone through in my life. As many of you know, my father, Roger Greenberg, passed away on October 11th after an amazing 90-year adventure in this lifetime. 56 of those years, I had the honor of calling him Dad. While I am, of course, deeply saddened at his departure, I also want to acknowledge that my most profound feeling in this exact moment in time as it relates to my dad is gratitude. While his passing leaves a void in my life that will never again be filled by anyone, the impact he's made on my life is immeasurable, and it continues to be that way even 2 months later. Some of the key words that come to mind when I think about my dad are loyalty, kindness, intelligence, and of course, family. In short, my dad was pretty much a success in every aspect of life. Perhaps the best example of why that word loyalty comes up when thinking about my dad is the fact that he and my mom not only reached the elusive milepost of 50 years of marriage, they blew past the 60-year milepost and made it all the way to the remarkable benchmark of 65 years, which we all celebrated as a family just this past July. When someone is uniquely loyal, they also inspire a loyal following, and my dad did exactly that. My dad took over the family textile business from his parents at the youthful age of 25 and went on to lead it for decades. All the while, many of the people who worked in the office and the plant worked there nearly as long as he did. Even my childhood dog, Ginger, was as loyal to my dad as she was to me. Ginger would sit at my dad's feet at the dinner table every single night, watching over things like a faithful servant. It probably helped things out a great deal that my father always had a plate of crackers next to him that he conveniently dropped on the floor on a regular basis to hold Ginger's attention. My father was what many people in his day would have referred to as a stand-up guy. Much of the reason people saw him that way was due to his kindness. My dad definitely had a matter of directness with which he did everything in life. But that matter of directness was never anything that you would consider stern. Even in situations where my dad had to make tough decisions, either in personal affairs or business affairs, he had a kindness of heart and a twinkle of compassion in his eye that made everyone respect him for the way he carried himself in all situations. Even if it came to the point in the business world where he needed to part ways with somebody, he would do it in such a kind way where he would say something along the lines of, "We need to break up," or "It's time, we need to get a divorce." That was my dad. He always had a way to make you feel seen, heard, and appreciated. My dad was one of the smartest people I knew in my entire life. He had a hunger for information that was insatiable. Every day when the newspaper came, he would scour it from cover to cover, and God forbid you should try to get a section from him before he finished. He would follow local news, world news, and financial news. And my goodness, did he and my mom love to travel. They enjoyed a lifetime of travel to destinations all around the globe. Many times in recent years, he had the whole family in tow, as we all learned things about the world that we never would have known without the opportunity. I am particularly particularly grateful for all the experiences that my parents offered me in seeing the world. In some ways, I sort of know that they wanted to make sure that I had the opportunity to go to the places that I would enjoy seeing, just in case the opportunity didn't exist for me later in life as a result of my multiple sclerosis. That is a gift that my mom and dad gave me that I will carry in my heart for as long as I live. My dad's intelligence came through like a shining light in the business world. He took what was already a successful textile business and turned it into an empire that employed hundreds of people and provided tremendous security to numerous people through the years. That was one of the things he took the most pride in, being able to help others. And despite all of his other accomplishments, nothing was more important to my dad than his family. He was always home for dinner. He was always there for us physically and emotionally when needed. I remember when he would accompany my mom on her shopping trips to the mall, he would find a comfortable spot to sit, and he would spend the entire time that my mom was shopping calling people in the family, whether it was me or my brother and sisters or any of the grandkids. He always made time for everybody, and nothing brought him more joy than to be around his family. There are so many memories that are near and dear to me about the times I shared with my dad, whether it was watching the Minnesota Vikings games, or enjoying quiet times around the house, or the many summers we spent out at the lake where he taught all of us to water ski. I'll never forget the simple things that we enjoyed all together. Funny story, my dad taught all of us kids how to water ski, even though he never knew how to water ski. That's another way that my dad was remarkable. He had the ability to break things down into understandable pieces and then teach them to people. That's probably why he was so successful in business through the years and so successful as the patriarch of our family. One of my favorite stories about my dad and I is from way back before I even knew that the story was happening. My dad and I had very similar mannerisms through the years, and there was also a great similarity in our facial structure. Whenever we were misbehaving as kids around the dinner table, my dad would slam his hand down on the table and give you a look that made you realize it was time to stop messing around. Well, let's just say that little 2-year-old Emily, she didn't know anything yet about not pushing boundaries too far. And on that particular occasion, when my dad slammed his hand down on the table and gave me a glare, I did the exact same thing. I slammed my hand down on the table and I gave him the exact same look. My poor mom had to excuse herself from the table and walk out of the room so she didn't burst into laughter. But my dad, he held his ground. And as the story goes, with a twinkle in his eye, made me understand it was time to start behaving in the kindest and most caring way. I'm always going to miss my dad, but my relationship with him continues to go on even now that he's out of his body. I know he's always going to be there going forward, just like he was for the last 56 years, and I will be forever grateful that Roger Greenberg was my dad. Thanks so much for watching this final video blog of 2022. I can't think of a more fitting way to cap off what has been a very transformational year for me. I'm excited about the path ahead, and I'll see you in 2023. Much love to all. Ciao, ciao.